me a little bit longer than I had expected. Alhamdulillah, they wouldn't let me drive, otherwise we would have been on time. Yo. Come on, brother. Go for it, man. SubhanAllah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam. Sisters, you guys are loving this, huh? Yeah. Because I'm making the brothers work extra hard. That's okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. No. Especially you guys down here, man. Seriously, you guys that have the nice seats, you gotta yell loud. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. See, this is louder than you. MashaAllah. Okay, first of all, it's real nice to be here in Leicester. What's the school called? University of Leicester, no? All right. Alhamdulillah. Some of you may wonder, where did this guy come from? Because the face is Irish. The Mutra is like Saudi. This, I don't know where this is from. Certainly not from Tesco, right? Tesco? What's the clothing place you guys got? The big place? It's like your Walmart. Tesco. That's it. It's not from there. So, but the reality is I wasn't always a Muslim. I was born in the eastern part of Canada. First of all, my family, they're Irish, actually. In case you haven't known that. My family came from Ireland, and it was really cool to go back there and see where we actually came from. I did this talk in, 4 different universities when I was over there. Alhamdulillah, and it was really well. But I was born in eastern Canada, in a province called Newfoundland. You guys know what that is? Nope. Fair enough. No one does. It's okay. It's in the eastern part of Canada, and it's very, very cold there most of the year. It can be like minus 25 degrees, minus 30 degrees. I was born in June in a snowstorm. And my mother never lets me forget it, right? You get a snowstorm in June, and this guy's been storming ever since throughout the planet. He's never let the people have any peace since the day he was born. Alhamdulillah. But I was born there. I was raised up there until I was 5. And then I went to a school that's mainly for people who can't see, in a province called Nova Scotia. Don't know where that is? It's okay, no one does. It's in the eastern part of Red Bull. MashaAllah. I'm like, later, bro, don't worry. Gives you wings, you know. So I was in Nova Scotia from the time I was 5. At this school, and what's very important to know is that my mom, she sold everything that she had so that she could move to that place. She didn't know anyone, so she started from the beginning basically for her life all over again. And that's very important for you guys to understand, is that your mom will always sacrifice for you. You know, so if you're international or you haven't talked to her for a little while, you know, you gotta call her, man. Like, you know, ring her. There you go. You don't call her, you ring. Ring her. I know she'll probably think that you're crazy. Now he's in school and he's calling me. Today of all days, I'm busy and he's calling me. Don't worry, just call her. Just say Jazakallah for everything. For me. Right? So my mom was like that. And I would stay at that school from Sunday night until Thursday night. I'd live there. And on Friday, she'd come and pick me up on the public transport, on the bus. And for some reason, she would do all of the food shopping on the day that I'm coming home. And we're Irish, right? So we eat potatoes. Every single day of your life, you eat potatoes. 18 different ways to cook a potato. And the Irish people invented all of them. All of them. You know, so guess who had to carry that 10-kilo bag of potatoes? We had child labor even back in the 80s in Canada. Irish people got child labor anyway. Are there any Irish people here? Good. They wouldn't be quiet, that's for sure. But yeah, so my mom would make me carry that big, huge bag of potatoes. I'm 5 years old, 6 years old. It's snowing, it's minus 20. And I went to my mom and said, you should pay me for this. You know that? I should get paid for this. My mom said, okay, I'll pay you. Really fabulous. I won. I'm 5. What am I going to buy with my allowance, how big is my house going to be, right? I said, how much are you going to pay me, Mom? She said, I'll let you live in my house. I'll let you eat from the potatoes that I bought. I'll clean your clothes, and I was okay, easy, take it. Thank you very much for making me feel very small. But that's how my mom was. She was very quick to teach me things. And she had the best right hook in Canada. And she would always tell me, you can't see the duck, so I can hit you whenever I want. And you can't move out the way properly. And she was right. She caught me many days with that. One day I came home from school and I said to her, I said, you know what? I'm done, I'm quit. I'm quitting school. I've had it. I don't want any more school at all. I'm finished. I'm 7. I know everything. I don't need to go to, I'm a man. I'm 7. That's it. You're not going to tell me I'm quitting. I said, really? I said, yeah. I'm quitting. Today's my last day. She said, good. Since you're quitting, why don't you take this dishcloth? Go ahead in the bathroom and clean the toilet for me. Said, all right, fair enough. I'm a man. I can do those things. No problem. So I went in and I cleaned it. I was happy because it was my last day of school. I'm free. I'm 7. I'm a man. So I came out. She didn't like it. She told me to go do it again. Well, I'm not as happy, but I'm still kind of happy, right? Only 2 times. She sent me in there 5 times. And I came out, and I wasn't happy no more. I had forgot all about quitting school. I was upset by then. I said, good, I like that. That's fair. Good enough. Good job. So, how did you like that? I didn't like that at all. My voice wasn't that deep, so just work on me. So I didn't like that at all. I'm 7. I'm not supposed to. I'm a man. Men don't clean toilets. I'm supposed to be grown up. Grown-ups don't clean toilets either. So I didn't like that one bit. She said, well, if you quit school, you're going to clean toilets for people for the rest of your life. So get used to it, because that's what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. So tomorrow's your first day of freedom. Where are you going to be? You're going to be with your friends? Or no, you're not going to be with your friends. Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be at? I'm going to be in school. I'll be in the front row. That's where I was. I graduated from the front row. I was in the front row from the time I was 7 until the time I graduated. Because I always was taught that education is really important. And my mom was really good at showing me things like that. I remember I wanted to leave home one day. So I told her, I'm leaving, I'm moving out. I'm 8. Right? She's a very rebellious kid. I'm 8. And you know what she did? She packed my stuff. Put my stuff outside. Hey, wait a minute, it's like cold. Where am I going to go? That's not my problem. You want to leave? Leave. Your stuff's right there. So what about the toys? You didn't pack no toys. They're my toys. I bought them toys. So I hustled my way back. Negotiated my way back to the house. But I was a very rebellious kid. At first. Very outspoken, let's say that. But in the summer, we go visit my grandmother. My grandmother is a lecturer. Oh, I could do a whole talk just on her. And she was crazy, man. She taught my mom that right hook. She taught her how to hit people. Because my grandmother spoke with an Irish accent, but she was born in Canada. Right? Which is kind of funny. Because, did I break something? So she was born and raised in Canada. But those people in that province, they have an Irish accent. All of them. I don't know why it is. I think it's because they just became like a province in 1949 with Canada. They were part of the UK back in 1948. So they all have this kind of accent. It's like this here, my grandmother now, right? I'm making a holy show of me over there in England in front of all them people at the university. So yes, I can see her in the crowd almost. She'd be like, you're not impressing anyone. You're blind, so what? You only sat in the airplane, you didn't fly it. If you want to impress me, swim home. That was her. She was like that. She was really just, mashallah, very serious. But she loved us a lot though. Me and my cousins, we never felt like unloved in my house, ever. My grandmother was tough on us, but she knew that the world is not an easy place to live. And that's why she was like that. My uncles would just come for no reason and just hit you. Pow, like that. What was that for? That's for something you did I didn't know about. So you'd get hit every now and then for nothing. Boom, someone just hits you. Not hard, just enough to get your attention. Just a clip, or they'll take your ear like that and just pull it like that. Irish love, you know. MashaAllah. So it should be no surprise to anybody that when I turned 8, I wanted to be a wrestler. Because I had all the training at home. Grandmother hit me, my uncles hit me, my mom hit me, my dad hit me, my cousins used to fight with them. So I was like, that's the only natural thing to be. We don't raise PhDs in my house. We raise pro wrestlers and hockey players. That's about it. So I went into my wrestling coach and I said, Coach, I want to be a wrestler. And I had no muscles at all. No muscles. And I had these thin, ribs right here. All my bones used to show. Our brothers from East Africa are very slim. Is that right? Somali brothers are very slim. Well, when I was 8, I was half a Somali, man. MashaAllah. My Somali people here? Yeah. مش حرب. Right? Somalia, sorry. I just had to do that. So I don't see you all that much. So, anyway, so I went into my wrestling coach, and he kicked me out. Right? Get out of here, man. Get lost. You're like, my grandma used to call me the last of the Irish famine people. Because we had a famine, like, in the 1800s. I don't know if you know that. But we had a famine, and that's what she used to call me, the last of the bloody famine people wants to be a wrestler. So he kicked me out. He told me to come back when I was 9. So I'm 9 years old, and I come back in and say, Coach, I want to be a wrestler. Again, still very skinny. He told me to get lost again. He kicked me out again. Said, I ain't leaving. You told me that last year. I'm like this tall. You told me that last year, and I'm not leaving. I want to be a wrestler now, today. So I was like, okay, listen. Since you're in such a hurry to get beat up, fabulous. I'll make you a wrestler. He put me in there with the big kid. I had to wrestle this big, well, wasn't big, he's bigger than me. And he beat me up, basically. To be polite. He beat the crap out of me, but he did. He beat me up, and it was my first day of wrestling, and I went home, all beat up. And I wanted the Somali mom, right? Alabame! Alelahayo! Right? Or the Arabic mom, Habibi, why are you wrestling? Don't wrestle ever again. Or the Desi mom, just you sit and make laddu for you, no wrestling. I wanted that, the Muslim mom, they baby their boys, like the boys are treated like kings. I wanted that, but I have an Irish mom. Well, I went home, busted up, walked in, my mom's looking at me. What happened to you? What's your problem? What's your problem, man? I said, Mom, I wrestled today. And they beat me up, I lost. They beat me up. She looks at me and she goes, well, it's not ballet, It's wrestling. It's not ballet. Of course he beat you up. I told you not to wrestle, didn't I? Yeah. Coach told you not to wrestle, didn't he? Yeah. But what did you do? You went ahead and wrestled anyway. That's what you did. So you got beat up, so what? That's wrestling. That's his job to beat you up. He did his job very well, as I can see. So quit then. If you want to quit, quit. Fabulous. Don't go no more. Don't wrestle anymore. So tomorrow, the next day, where was I? Wrestling again. Yep. That's where I was. And for 2 years, I didn't win nothing. Thanks, sister. I always get the, mashallah, man. Jazakumullah khair. I appreciate that. That's the first time anyone ever did that. See a little kid get beat up every day. Aww. I lost every single day. Didn't win. I was old and like 50 or something. People beat me up. But I started to look better. Like, instead of losing in 35 seconds, I would lose in like a minute, or a minute and a half. My time kept getting better. Like, I kept losing, but I would look good at least. Well, as good as someone who loses can look. So I was losing in that, and I changed schools when I was about 12. I went to a school that mainly was for people who can see. Well, except me, of course. I was the only one. I was a real minority. You know, the only kid that can't see in the whole school. And I think I was the first kid that ever went there that can't see. I don't remember. So I went in, and they had a wrestling coach too. But this coach is an idiot. Like, he used to beat up the boys. He used to wrestle the boys. He's like 40, and he's like body slamming 12-year-olds. He wouldn't even teach you nothing. He'd just pick you up. See there? That's how you're supposed to do it. He just wrestled the boys and beat them up and throw them out the ring and stuff. So I come in and I wrestled one boy. And I beat him. You know, I finally won. I was very happy about that. Finally won against somebody. So I wrestled the second boy and I beat him too. Third one, I won. But the coach is also wrestling boys. So he beats 3 as well. And I was used to wonder to myself, why is this man like fighting boys? I've never seen a coach get like physically involved before. But he would. So one other wrestler came and he had this bright idea. Right? He said, hey, why don't you fight the coach? And I'm Irish. I can't fight. Who said fight? Where is the fight? So he told me that, and I was like, I'll fight the coach. I'll fight the whole family of the coach. I'll beat him and his grandmother. There's no way he can beat me ever. And the coach was like right there, right beside me. And of course I didn't see him, right? And he's like, well, that would be all, Mr. Clare. Damn, how much of that did you hear? It's like, I heard enough to accept the challenge. Here I am now, 12 years old, fighting this 40-year-old man. And he's a lot bigger than me, taller than me. He goes, I'm still very slim. I'm still like, I'm not half of somebody no more. I'm like 2/3, right? I'm a little bit bigger. So I get in the ring with him and I lock up with him. And we go back and forth, me and the coach. I'm smaller and faster than him, but he's older than me. And he doesn't know that I've been wrestling and getting beat up every day for 2 years. So I'm kind of used to abuse by now. So after about 10 minutes, he stops and I stop and we get up. And he's looking at me and he's breathing hard because he's 40. He's an old man. Well, kind of old, oldish. Middle-aged, there, for any 40-year-olds in the crowd. He's middle-aged at 40. He gets up and he puts his hand like that to me. And he goes, that's a draw. And I smiled. I didn't agree to a draw, but anyway. So I took his hand like that, and then I just pulled him in. And I jumped. At the same time I pulled him in, I jumped, and I landed on top of him. Now the wrestling count, usually, well, it was like that too. It was like 1, 2, 3. It's normal, standard. That day it was like that as well. But in my head, it was more like 1, 2, 3. And I remember thinking to myself, if this man gets up today, I'm going to be dead. So please count faster a little bit. But he hit 3 and the coach didn't get up. And I beat him. And I was stood up in the middle of the ring like this. And I was, had my little muscles. And all the people in it was like 100 people in there. And they were yelling. And they were making noise. And all the little pretty girls were screaming for me that I was 12. And I felt like Justin Bieber in 1987. I was up there like that, and I was just like showing off and doing all these little poses and all this stupid stuff. But that's when I realized on that day that I wanted to hear that pop. That's what we call it when people step out for you. It's called a pop in pro wrestling. So I wanted to hear that every single day. Because really, if you ask anyone who's ever been a wrestler, either amateur or pro, they'll tell you that that pop is a drug to us. It really is. Because most wrestlers are just starved for attention. That's why they do things like that. So I was up in the middle of the ring, I was standing there and the people were going crazy. And that's when I made that decision that I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I was 12. I wanted to be a pro wrestler, and that was it. That was my thing. So I'd start to be very, very colorful. Like I would talk and act like my favorite wrestler. Right? We had Hulk Hogan back then. Remember Hulk Hogan? He's an idiot, right? Stand up in the thing and rip his shirt off. He was like 60 now, but my guy was Ric Flair. Flair was my guy. Because Flair had all the jewelry, he had the nice cars, he had the $5,000 clothes, he had the pretty girls, and Hulk Hogan just had that stupid belt. I didn't care about that. I could buy a belt if I wanted one. So I would walk and act and behave like Ric Flair. Everywhere I went. That's what I would do. So a teacher came to me one day, I was in school, and he told me, he said, you know, you're a wrestler. You're an athlete. You should set an example for the younger kids, you know. You should really behave more humbly as a wrestler. So I went, Coach, it's hard to be humble when you're great. Like that, and that's what I said to him. And I would just walk around like that. I would behave just like Ric Flair. But I didn't say a lot of bad words, and I wasn't like that. That's why teachers used to like me, because I didn't have a bad mouth. I just had a very big one. I would never be quiet. Kind of like now. I would never be quiet. I'd just keep talking and talking and talking until eventually they would just, like, the class would be over, and that would be that. But my friend was also a wrestler. He was very slim as well, very skinny. And he got beat up by a wrestler, like a 300-pound wrestler. And I didn't like that, because the guy's a lot bigger than me and my friend, and he beat him up. So I walked in the ring and I just went, pow! And slapped the wrestler, big one. Hit him right here, right in the mouth, hit him right in his face. And he got real mad, right? Which is kind of normal. You can slap someone 300 pounds in the mouth and they're going to get upset with you. So he was threatening my family, and, you know, wants to kill everyone in my house. He's like talking like that. And I'm also talking to him, I'll burn your house down. You're not beating me ever. You know. And he agreed to wrestle. And I went back in the locker room, and I was getting ready. And the other wrestlers are going to me, and they're going, you know, he's kind of bigger than you, a little bit. I don't care. He's big. So what? So what if he's bigger than me? I'm Superman. He's not going to beat me ever. There's no way on earth. The problem with not being able to see is that you really don't know what 300 pounds is. Or the damage it can do. You really don't know that. It's just a number. And I slapped him in the head, so I didn't get an idea as to how big he was. And no one was telling me anything, because they're like, well, let him just let him go then. If he wants to wrestle, fine, fabulous. So I went out, and I came across the ring, and I hit him, pow, with this arm. I ran. It doesn't look nice when I'm on stage, but I ran across, and I hit him with this arm, like that. It's called a clothesline. And I hit him with that clothesline, and he just stood there and looked at me. And that's when all my plans ended. Because that was usually my first, my first move was that clothesline. Bang! And then the guy's supposed to fall, and then I'm supposed to wrestle, I'm supposed to win, I'm supposed to take over. Well, all my plans didn't work for me on that day. And Ric Flair, he still didn't return my calls. So I was stuck in the middle of the ring with this guy who's much bigger than me. And the only thing he said to me was, is it my turn? And I was stuck. I was just frozen, and all the arrogance was gone. And he picked me up. I'll never forget that. He just went like this. He went very slowly, all the way up here. I was high up. And I was trying to get away. And I was doing all this, and he's just holding me up. And I thought, man, if I could see, I could probably see the University of Leicester in England from way up here. And he yelled at the people, and he's like, which row do you want him in? Do you want him up in the balcony? Do you want him in the first row, the second, third row? Where do you want him at? And I'm like, no. I was only kidding. He wasn't listening to me at all. He just took one step back like that, and he went, 1, 2, 3. He did 10. He did 10 squats with me way up here like that. And then he just went, boom. Yeah, that's what I said too. And then he fell on top of me and he pinned me and he beat me. And the 3 count was a lot faster that day. I didn't kick out. Like in the movies, you're supposed to get up and you're supposed to win. Well, that's not a movie, and I lost very badly. So I went home, I limped home. Didn't tell my mom nothing because it's not ballet after all. I can just hear her. Did I tell you to fight him? No, we fought. You're not saying to beat you up. So I knew better than to tell my mom anything. So I walked in the house like this, right? Like that. Holding. It's like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm alright. I'm good. I'm alright. Good. Fabulous. No problem. I didn't wrestle for like a month. This guy, and I still get like lower back pain to this day, and I'm like, I know where that came from. Shoot off your mouth too many times, and someone's gonna deal with you. And I learned that very valuable lesson that day. That 300-pound wrestlers can really hurt you if they want to. So if you're ever gonna fight them, you need to prepare yourself for that. I didn't wrestle. I wrestled him again later on in life, in high school, and I actually beat him. Cheated a little bit. Yeah, so that's my story about him. But I would prepare a lot. I'd go to the gym more. And I was still very cocky, and I used to talk too much. But I'd go to the gym and I would work out a lot, and then I got bigger. But in 1992, I started to learn some more valuable lessons. I read a book by an author named Alex Haley. And that book was called Roots. Did you ever read that? Roots. It's long, very long book. But it details the kidnapping of a young boy from Gambia. How he was kidnapped and snatched out of Africa and brought to America as a slave. And it details his life from like the 1700s when he was kidnapped, through his children's lives all the way to the 1970s when the author actually went back to Gambia again. So I was very interested in that book. It really fascinated me. And I got into this whole like African American history. I was very interested in that. And having been able to, as a side note, having been able to go to Ireland and see where my family came from, and to know that this is the place where we came from, I have a greater empathy for what they've lost over the years, because they can't do that. Like they can guesstimate and go back to maybe West Africa or like Ghana or Gambia, but they can't, no one's going to tell you this is the city where you came from. Where, alhamdulillah, that I have the ability to do that, they don't. And I think it's one of the biggest crimes in the last like 600 years is the assault that was committed on Africa by the West, and it's a huge robbing, like theft of resources, of people, of ideologies, and I don't want to go too much into that, but I was very fascinated by that when I was a kid, when I was 16 years old. And during that time, I also read another book by Alex Haley. It's the autobiography of Malcolm X. Rahmatullah alayhi. Malcolm fascinated me when I was a kid. When I read Malcolm X, Ric Flair kind of ceased to exist in my life. I didn't want to be like that anymore. I thought Malcolm could stand up in front of a crowd for 45 minutes to an hour and captivate them so that no one would leave. And everyone would listen to him talk. And I always thought that was an amazing art, even when I was a small kid. And I said that in Ireland, and I said that Ric Flair taught me how to speak, but Malcolm taught me how to listen. And a listener can be much better than a speaker. So I would listen to Malcolm and I would learn everything that I could about what he was saying at the time. He was alive in the 1960s, so he was assassinated before I was even born. But I really was still fascinated by the way he used to speak. And during that time, I was still wrestling, of course. And, you know, after every athletic event, you go to the after party, right? At least the winners would. The winners get to go to the after parties, and the losers get like a bus ride home, and that's it. And I know that because I used to lose a lot. But when I used to win, I used to get invited to the after parties too. So I'm there and it's like, you talk to a pretty girl and you hang out and you're famous, and then you do the same thing over and over again every single night. And this is only in high school. And I started to think, after everyone went home, after all the Russells went home and all the pretty girls went home, and I went home, I'd be in my house and I'd start to think to myself, is this really it? Am I just here to throw people around a wrestling ring and chat the next pretty girl? Is that all I'm here for? Because if that's all I'm here for, then it's a real waste of time. Right? Little brother's like, what do you mean, man? That sounds all right. Yeah. You get to wrestle and talk to girls, that sounds all right. Well, I started to think that this can't be all there is. It can't be why I'm here at all. So I always believed in a creator. I always believed that there was a God. We were raised Catholic, but I had a problem with a lot of the imagery and how the prophets were portrayed in the Bible, so I never really practiced that too much, but I always believed that there was a God. So I'd say things like, my creator. I know my science teacher says you're not real, but I believe you're real. And I just need some guidance, because I don't know why I'm here. I can't be just here to wrestle, and I can't be just here to beat people up and chat the next girls. I can't just be here for that. So I just need guidance a little bit. I didn't know how to pray, but that's how I used to do it back then. But Malcolm X, he talked about a way of life. And that way of life he called it Islam. And what fascinated me at first about Islam is that it's not named after a person, place, or a thing. I was fascinated by it. Because you have every other religion pretty much is named after the one who founded that religion, or the place that religion was founded in, or some kind of a statue, or some kind of a thing that it's the cornerstone of that religion. But Islam isn't named after. It's not even called Allahism. Can you imagine? It's not even called Muhammad. It's Islam. I was fascinated by that name. And he talked about the God of the Muslims. And he talked about him being one. And not only one, but unique. Meaning that there's nothing like him. And I was fascinated by that too, because I had a problem with God being a man, or a woman, or a statue, or a person, a white or a black person. I had a problem with that. I had a real problem with that. And after Malcolm went to pilgrimage, rahmatullah alayhi, when he came back, those are the things he was talking about. That God is one and unique in his oneness, and there's nothing like him. So Malcolm didn't really have a lot of knowledge like that. He was only actually Muslim for 11 months before he was murdered. He was only Muslim for that long. So he didn't have a whole lot of knowledge. So I just knew that the Muslims believed in God as one, and they believed in the prophets, and that's all I knew. And I couldn't find any Muslims. My neighborhood, he would mention Arabs and Pakistanis, the Indians and whatnot. And the only thing I knew about the Arabs is they had the shops, the little shops where you go buy stuff. And you come back when you have more change. You don't have enough now. Right? You're $1 short. Come back tomorrow when you have more. So that's all I knew about the Arabs. And for my Desi brothers, they drove taxis in my neighborhood. Where do you want to go? That's all I knew. So he mentioned Mecca, and I thought, man, Mecca must be full of cabs and them little shops to buy candy. Because I really didn't know anything else, and I'm not trying to be offensive. Because those people that were in my neighborhood, they didn't tell us that they were Muslims. I didn't know what a Muslim was. I thought Malcolm X was a Muslim, so that's the only example of Muslim I had. Nobody was telling us anything. And if they were doing it very quietly. Because I didn't hear nothing in my neighborhood. Nothing. So I kind of just put my Islam, not behind me, just kind of I kept it in my head, but I didn't know how to become Muslim. So I thought, if this God of theirs wants me to be Muslim, then I'll be one day. So I kept wrestling and I kept doing my thing, going to after parties. In 1996, I had a perfect record. You know how it started, right? How many wins did I have at first? 0. So in 96, I had 29 wins with no losses that year. And that was my goal as a wrestler at the time. I wanted to have a perfect record, one season with a perfect record. I actually graduated in 95, but I upgraded my math and my English just so that I could wrestle again. My mom was like, yeah, he loves math and English. Not really, he doesn't want to wrestle. So I came back and I always did well in math and English, but I did really well in wrestling. And I got my perfect record that I always won, 29 wins and no losses. And I also got a job offer to go to Toronto. You guys know Toronto? Yeah, see, no one knows my places, man. You guys know Toronto. It's okay, everybody does. I got accepted to be a counselor at a camp, a summer camp for people who can't see, like kids who can't see. I got to be in charge of their entertainment, kind of. So I was the one who had to make them laugh and entertain them and that, which alhamdulillah, I was always good at that because of the pro wrestling. So I got a chance to get paid to go to Toronto. They're gonna pay my expenses. They're gonna pay me a salary. Big city. I was happy, getting out of Nova Scotia for a minute. Let's go to Toronto. So I ended up in Toronto, and one of the first people I met was a Pakistani girl. So, because this is horrible actually, subhanAllah. Because I'm very shy, right? So shy. My sister's laughing at me for that too. I came off the airplane and I heard her name. They were doing an introduction thing at the workplace where they were introducing us. I said, you know what? That's a funny name. Where'd you get that name from? She didn't yell at me or nothing. She's like, that name is Arabic. It's an Arabic name. So Malcolm had talked about Arabic in his speeches. I'm like, Arabic? Are you Muslim? She's like, yes, I am. I'm like, I want to be Muslim too. I was like an inch away from her, right? I want to be Muslim too. And she's like, took 2 steps away from me because that's kind of crazy. Crazy white guy gets off the airplane and radiant faith wants to become Muslim. So that's what I told her. I want to become Muslim too right now. She's like, okay, listen. What do you know about Islam? It's nothing. But I want to be Muslim. That's it. Okay, listen, I need to know that you know certain concepts. So I'm going to go home and I'm going to get a book from my dad. And, no, you're not. No. I want to become Muslim right now, today. So no, relax, take it easy. I'm going to go home, I'm going to get this book. Tomorrow I'm going to come and I'm going to teach you the 5 pillars of Islam. At least so that I know you know something about it. I'm like, no, I want it right now, today. So eventually I let her go, We don't have forced conversions in Islam, but I kind of forced my own conversion onto other people. So I was stalking her. Don't forget that book, The whole day, don't forget that. You need to bring that, don't forget that. I'm not going to forget. She's like, take it easy, I'm not going to forget. I'm going to be here. Tomorrow I'll be here, relax. So the next day, 8 o'clock in the morning, I come. Did you bring the book? It's like, yeah, I brought it. Just let's at least finish work first, and I'll talk to you about it then. So we finished our day, and she comes and we sit together and we're talking. She's talking about the 5 pillars of Islam. And honestly, I'm ignoring her. I'm just sitting, because I really don't care what she has to say. At that point, I got a Muslim, and I ain't letting go until I caught me a Muslim, and I'm not letting go until I become one. That's that. So she's talking, and the Muslims believe in the oneness of God, and they worship one God. And okay, do you get that? Yeah, I get it. And then the second pillar of Islam, the Muslims, they have to pray 5 times a day, and they face Mecca, and then she's going on and on and on. Do you get? Yeah, I get it. And the third pillar of Islam, they give sadaqah, their zakat, their wealth, part of their wealth has to go to charity, and it's, yep, fabulous. Keep going. And she went on for the whole 5. She could have said anything to me. She could have said that the moon is made out of cream cheese. And I would have been like, yeah, I get it, fabulous. Whatever you say. So she gets to the end, she's talking about Hajj and that, and she gets to the end and she goes, okay, so do you understand that? I'm like, yeah, can I be Muslim now? Well, since you're so patient, right? And then it was July 3rd, it was 1996, I said my Shahada. So, bear witness, there is nothing worthy of worship besides the one true God, and Muhammad is his last and final messenger. And that was probably the easiest Shahada in Canadian history. You ever have a Shahada chase you around? Around the workplace, like for a whole day. And just chase you until you give them dawah. Forcing you to give dawah to them. I was like that. I became Muslim by force, and I was the one who forced it. Alhamdulillah. So, I learned a little bit, like very little, because my job was only for 3 weeks, really. So now I have to come home now. I have to go back to my home in Nova Scotia. My job's done. And I'm on the airplane. It's a 2.5-hour flight from Toronto to my home. And it actually felt like a 2-day flight. Because I started thinking to myself, yeah, like, you know, there's no Muslims in my city. I'll have to build my own mosque in my house. I'll have to kill my own animals. I don't know how to do it. I never killed nothing in my life. Do you say Allahu Akbar, Bismillah, or Bismillah, Allahu Akbar? Can I use a gun? No, I can't. I'm Muslim. We're not allowed to use guns. So I get home, and I come out the airplane, and you know, when I went to Toronto, I was like this. I was Ric Flair. Wow. I come off the airplane and I'm like this. So my mom meets me in the baggage place where you take the luggage and that. And she comes up and she's like, hey, what's going on? How was your trip? And how did they treat you? And, you know, did they pay you on time? Did you get arrested? No, didn't get arrested. Guess what I did, Mom? My trip was great though, by the way, but guess what I did? She said, what's her name? Like, no, nothing like that. Guess what I did? She's like, what? I became Muslim. And she's like, can we talk about this when we get home? Is that okay? No! I want to talk about it right now. Right here in the airport. Let's discuss that. Because I thought, if she's going to kill me, she's going to have witnesses. Because she's not getting me alone where she can kill me in private. At least if she kills me in front of all these people, I'll have witnesses that will stand up for me in court. At least someone will hang for my murder, right? So she calmed me down, which is something that people have had to do all my life, is calm me down. And we get home, and she was all right. You know, she was really cool with it. It's like, well, as long as you're happy and you're safe and you're not going to go to jail, I'm okay. So that was pretty easy. Now, one of the things that I found out also when I reached my city is there was like 2,000 Muslims in my area. And I didn't know them. I didn't know that they existed. So I found the masjid and I thought like there's going to be 10 people in the masjid. I come in and it's all these people from all over the place. And everyone's my friend now. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Kayf halkum? I don't know what that means, but alaikum salam. I'm good. I think that's what it meant. And I'm like, all these people, they didn't know me before. And when I was looking for Islam, they were nowhere to be found. And now all of a sudden, brother! If I was actually your brother, you would have shared with me from the beginning, no? I would have been able to find you at least if I knew where you were. I mean, I don't have no grudges. Alhamdulillah, Allah guides you the way He wants to guide you, and I'll have no problem with that. But I found it to be really sad that there's so many Muslims living in my place and other places, because if you know Yusha Evans, he had the same problem. He couldn't find any Muslims. So that really makes me sad to know that we live in countries and we're just existing there. Right? Because we're all going home, right? Tomorrow, I'm going home next year. 10 years go by, he's still going home. 15 years go by, he's still going home. 25, his kids are getting married, and he's still going home. You're going to be buried here. No, brother, inshallah, I'm not. The same brother, you pray his janazah. I told you, he's going to be buried here. So, all that time wasted. Since you don't want to do dawah here, because you're going home next year, you live in a place for 20, 35, 40 years and die there and did nothing. And whatever he did, only Allah knows. I'm not saying he didn't do anything, but I'm just giving an example that we have the best gift to share with people. If they take it or not, that's up to them. But you should be ready to share it with them, with your adab, with your behavior, with your kindness, with your generosity, with your sincerity. And we ask Allah to keep us safe in England and to keep England safe with us, inshallah. Because that was my advice to those brothers, that you have this and you don't share with anyone at all. There could be thousands of Abu Hafsas running around Canada. Thousands of Yusha Evans running around America. Thousands. So anyway, this sister, she sent me a Quran. She sent me the cassette tape of the Quran. You know, cassette tapes. You know those things we used to have? Back before iPods were invented. Back in the 90s, right, with the two wheels and the, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So I get these cassette tapes, and there's like 40 of them, because it's Arabic and English together. So I put the first cassette in my player. This is what I heard. And you have to remember, with me, I hadn't read the Quran up until that point. I took Shahada based on the very little information that I knew. So finally I have a Quran, and I'm like, you know, I turned off all the phones and locked my door. No one's going to come to me until I finish it, seriously. So I heard, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. And that's what I heard, and I just liked the way the words fit together. I liked the way it was done, you know. And then I heard the English, of course. In the name of Allah, most gracious and most merciful. Now, many people will tell you that Muhammad wrote the Quran. Is that right? You heard that? You heard that. You must have heard that. If that's the case, which we know it's not the case, we believe that the Quran is the literal speech of Allah. But if that's the case, why didn't he start it off with, in the name of Muhammad? And why is it that his name is only in the book like 4 times? 3 or 4 times in the whole Quran, his name is there. And a lot of times when he's being mentioned, he's actually being corrected. SubhanAllah. So I used to think that, you know, if this is my book, my name is going to be on every page. Yes, mine, I'm right. Everyone else is full of whatever. And if it's my book, and if it's your book too, it's probably going to be like that as well. Right? You're not going to be wrong in your own book. That's not going to happen. So it says, in the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of everything that exists. Again, why wouldn't Muhammad praise himself if that's his book? So he actually, not only did he not praise himself, but he deferred praise to someone else, if that was the case. So Allah's speech, when Allah has said, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of everything that exists. And I thought that that makes a lot of sense as well. Because every one of us will eventually leave from here. Is that true? I mean, you may think you'll live forever, right? So Michael Jackson thought that he would live forever. Unfortunately for him, his plan was derailed. But that's what he thought. And he said in an interview, I'm going to live forever. Sorry, Michael. But that's the case for all of us. We're all going to eventually leave from here. So all praise is due to the one who will never die. The Lord of everything that exists. The most beneficent, the most merciful. Owner and master of the day of judgment. He said, you alone we worship and you alone we ask help from. Guide us to your straight way. The way of those people who are your favorite people, whom you have favored. Not the way of those who you're angry with or those who went astray. And I thought, after the after parties and all the foolishness that went on, that's really what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I didn't know how to ask for it like that though, right? It's very eloquent, mashallah, way of asking. I want guidance. My science teacher said you're not real, but I think you are, so hook me up. That was my way of asking for guidance. And alhamdulillah, I received it. Because then the book goes on to, Allah goes on to say in his book, this is the scripture where there is no doubt in it. A guide. Oh, what I wanted is a guide. A guide to those people who are conscious of Allah. That's really what I always wanted. So I had some questions though. Like anyone, you're not going to just jump into something head first and not have any questions. So there's a lot of racism in my neighborhood because Nova Scotia is the only province in Canada to have slavery of one form. They had actually served, they called them indentured servants, which is basically slaves. So it's the only province in Canada to ever have that. So we have a large indigenous black population in my province. And there was always tension, black and white tension. Right? In my high school, in my middle school. And my friends were black and my friends were white. And I was kind of like in the middle, like Switzerland. Neutral, in the middle. Because this racism always concerned me, and I thought, this is one thing that's really affecting the planet that I live on, and I want to know if there's a cure for it. And if this book is true, then there's going to be a cure for it in this book. So I came across that verse, which is, Ya ayyuhan nas. It's in Surah Hujurat, or chapter 49, verse number 13, where Allah addresses everyone. He says, "Oh people." Imagine, He didn't even say, "Oh Muslims." Right? He said, "Oh people. We have created you from a male and a female, Adam and Eve." And again, if you think about it now for a minute, if we all came from the same two people, we have no choice but be related. Is that right? If you're white, Irish, or dark skin from Gambia, we're related. And I mentioned that because one of my very best friends is from Gambia, Jazakallah khair. He's actually, I consider him part of my family. So I mentioned him, may Allah have mercy on him. But you have to believe that, if you believe you came from two people. If you're Irish, if you're English, if you're African, if you're from wherever you're from, you have to be related. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. And we made you nations and tribes. Why? So that you might know each other. So I come here to England, I learn a little bit about my English brothers and sisters. Hello. Right? Cheers. What do they say? Up here. He's from Canada, innit? 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 So I'm listening and I'm trying to copy the accent of here. Because I want to know my people here. I go to London, right? Governor, you don't look Irish at all. I did a program at London School of Economics, so I tried to copy them. I go to Irish and I go to Ireland and I copy my own people. Alright? And their accents are just funny, mashallah. So, but Allah made us like that so we can know about each other. We can learn different things and take the halal from every culture. Take the lawful from every culture. But, how do you judge? How do you know who's good or who's really bad? Or who's really good? Who's fabulous? Allah has said to us, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. that the most honorable from me amongst you in the sight of your Creator are those who are more conscious of Him. So really, it doesn't matter. You don't have to judge, which is beautiful. That's one less thing you have to do. You should be very happy that you don't have to judge, right? Because Allah is the one who is the ultimate judge of the Irish, of the English, of the Arabs, of the Somalis, of the Afghanis, of the Pakistanis, of the Canadians, of everyone on the planet. إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ تُقَاكُمْ. The one who is most honorable of you in the sight of your Lord is the one who is more conscious of Him. So I read that verse and I was very happy with that. That to me seemed very logical and very straightforward and understandable. But I want to know if I'm in this book. I'm from North America, so everything is me, me, me. Right? Very self-absorbed we are in North America. But I was born without my eyesight. So I wanted to, you forgot that, didn't you? I was born without my eyesight. So I wanted to know if we were mentioned anywhere in this book. And I never was told by my family that I was a blind person, blind kid. Blind, I heard that word when I was in school. I never heard it at home. So one teacher told me, he said, you know what? I wanted to be a pro wrestler or something. He said, you know, you can't do that. You're blind. So I went home, told my mom, I said, what's blind? What does it mean to be blind? I said, you're not blind, you just can't see. So I came back and I said, you know what? You're a liar. I'm not blind. I just can't see. My mom told me that. And my grandmother told me that. My uncles told me that. Everyone in my family told me like that. So I was never raised with this word in my head. I only heard it in school. So I wanted to know if there's ever any mention of people who can't see in this book. Then I found the verse. I'm not going to give it all to you. It says, فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ. Wow. It's not the eyes that are blinded. وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبُ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. But it's the hearts that are in the breasts that grow blind. And really, that's what I was told. From the time I was real small up until even now. That's what I was told. You're not blind, you just can't see. So Allah is using much better words than my family used, but the meaning is similar. Saying it's not the eyes in the head, like it's not your eyes that are blinded, it's the hearts that are blinded. And that is the worst kind of blindness because it's self-inflicted. The worst kind of disability is the self-inflicted disability. When you cripple yourself, when you blind yourself, when you deafen yourself, when you hear without listening, or you see without vision. That's the worst kind of disability that a person can have. So that's when I really entered Islam. When I read that ayah, that's what I was being told all my whole life. So, this is it. I'm here. Whatever they say now in this book, or in the authentic sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ, I'm in. Whatever it is, I'm in. I took my shahada in 96 with very, very little knowledge. But I actually entered Islam when I read that verse. Because then I had more knowledge, I had certain knowledge of what I believed in. But I still had a challenge to overcome. Because my grandmother came to visit. And I was scared that day. Seriously, my grandmother came to my house and I could almost hear her Irish accent, right? So what class of a heathen are you now? She didn't say that to me. She walked in, I was avoiding her for the whole day. Deliberately, right? But she caught me and she cornered me in a room and she's like, I heard you changed your religion. Is it true? Sort of, kind of, I did a little bit. Yeah, I did. So what are you now? I said, Muslim. That's what I am. I became Muslim. Why? So what do you believe? Said, we worship God and we worship Him as being one. And He's one and there's no statues of Him. There's no fathers. There's no sons. There's no nothing. There's just Him. And he's unique in his oneness. He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have any partners at all whatsoever. And he's one and he's unique. And she said, oh, I believe that too. So I started to get a little bit more confident. I'm not scared as much. I'm still scared though, but not as much. So she said to me, I said to her, so we also believe in prophets that were sent to teach us how to behave. They were sent by Allah to teach us how to behave towards each other and how to worship Him properly. Oh, really? And who are they? Said, Abraham and Isaac and Noah and Jacob and Ismail and Adam and Jonah, the one who was swallowed by the whale. Jacob and Solomon and David and Moses and many more, and also Jesus too, peace be upon them all. So we say peace be upon them all out of respect for them, but we don't worship any of them. And they were sent here for that purpose. I believe that too. Thinking to myself, wow, I may actually live. This is going better than I thought. But we also believe in a last messenger. His name is Muhammad. And he's a descendant of Prophet Abraham. And he comes from the family of Ishmael. Ishmael in English, Ismail in Arabic, right? Comes from the family of Ismail. And he's an Arab who was sent to us with our Quran, a guidance for those who believe in God. I said, well, I don't know much about him, but I believe in everything else you say, so that must be true as well. So I was like, whew, yes, that's it. It's over. But I have 3 questions. Oh, God. She's going to ask me about bombs. And we don't believe in any of that crap. She's going to ask me about blowing things up and how many wives I can have. Stuff. I don't want to deal with that. But she said to me, she said, am I still your grandmother? Oh, sisters, jazakallah khair. MashaAllah, brothers don't care. Yes, so what? MashaAllah. My sisters, man, I need programs that are full of sisters. Jazakallah khair. So anyway, so she asked me like that, am I still your grandmother? I gave her a hug, I said, yeah, of course, my grandmother. Why would you not be my grandmother? You'll always be my grandmother. And then she said, are you still Irish? So yeah, of course I'm still Irish. Because that meant a lot to her, she really loved the culture. And then she asked me the funniest question I think I've ever been asked in my life. She asked me, are your teeth going to be white like them Pakistani people teeth? I said, what? They came by my house the other day, and their teeth are gorgeous, so they are. Are your teeth going to be sparkling like them? And when your grandmother says that to you, you get shy, you do this, right? You start checking for like dirt in your teeth. I said, I don't know, I'll use Colgate and see what happens, I'll use something, I'll see what happens, I'll try it. But I take care of my teeth. I know, but they're not shining like those Pakistani people. So my grandmother was okay. She was alright. And I knew then at that point, if my grandma was okay, no one's going to hurt me and my family. Because she'll kill them, I always felt like I was her favorite. Because she always said, she would yell at me the most. And I'd ask her, I said, how come you don't yell at my cousin? Because I had an older cousin who was bad. He was bad, and he was worse than me by far. So how come you don't yell at him? He's in Egypt, so he is. He's going to be in jail. But you're not stupid. And everything that you do has to be better than everybody else. That's why I'm so rough with him. She told me that later. And what's funny is that cousin did actually end up in jail. You're good. MashaAllah. But that is, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, that is how I wrestled my way to Islam. وذلك ما عندي وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.